Welcome back, everybody. It's time for our match of the day. I really hope you're ready for this. It's Rogue versus G2. I cannot get any better than this. I hope I didn't just jinx this matchup. But welcome back to the Analyst Desk. I'm Mr. Medic, your host. With me are Fresh and Ollie, and you look like a little mosquito
yeah,
rubbing around.
Little mosquito, yeah.
We got bitten over the past few days.
We did.
Not gonna lie, it wasn't super great. But we're all fresh and ready for this one, Ollie, aren't we?
Absolutely, and I don't think you will have jinxed it because regardless of the result here tonight, it's going to be a good game because it usually always is.
And it's going to be an extra important game because you're fighting for the top four, both of these teams. So getting 3 points over a big rival, potentially, could be a massive thing. Going to OT might not be the best thing for any one of these two squads. And let's talk about them individually. Since you're already here, Ollie, how about you talk to us about Rogue? What are your thoughts?
Let's go. Rogue, for me, is this a case of the old major winners curse sort of coming back to bite them? Great team, don't get me wrong, and what they've done so far in Stage 3, it has been good. However, I don't believe we have seen them at their absolute best just as of yet. Now, if that's because they maybe feel like the pressure isn't exactly on, I'm not too sure. Teams may be countering them a little bit too much. But for me, they just haven't shown us that sort of blinding light that we saw in Berlin.
75% defensive win rate, 25% attacking win rate. Now, if you ask Rogue, that'll be because they're playing defender-sided maps, and there's not an issue with their attacks, but clearly, this was the best attacking team in Stage 2 by far and away. I don't know if the nade changes, the operator balancing changes, whatever's come in, they've just not got that little bit of bite on their attacks that they need to come back and find. But we all know of their quality. I don't need to go through their individual players, talk about them. We know that they are a quality outfit.
Yeah.
And even though we're considering them in a slump, they've picked up points in every single game.
True.
They're still a champion team, and I would expect them to pick up points again here today, to be honest.
Well, G2 on the other side, they've gotten a victory against Wolves, no less. All 3 points of it. They've had a couple rough games to start off the stage. You know, they lost the opening game, and then they went to overtime against Secret that they lost, which I guess baffled most people that are watching out there. But they proved last week against Wolves that they have the bite still.
Yeah, it was a good game from them against Wolves, and I think, you know, Doki put it quite bluntly. Brave call on their map choice. They've made some very brave calls on their bans, in map bans, in operator bans, but I think they've realised in their playstyle, they've got what it takes to play this current meta. They've got the team that's perfect for this current meta. They've got a big moment team, very similar to Rogue, where you have these big moments all at once as a team, and you just explode into sight and you basically just blow the other team away. And I think the penny might have finally clicked with them.
That, for me, is the big thing for G2. They are that big moment team. We were struggling earlier to pick out someone that you could slot into the stereotype of a supporting role, and that bodes quite well, really, in this current meta. The thing about G2 is that how long are we going to give them to give us the super team that was promised? You know, and you sort of start looking and you go, well, are they still meshing? Are they still like getting together? At what point do we start to, you know, come down even more critically on them?
I'll play devil's advocate, which is going to be a rarity for me to do for G2. But over their formation, they've been to 2 majors, 2 quarterfinals of these majors, and they put up a decent show, especially in Berlin, given especially that one of their players was walking out right after it, and that had been known for a while. They had lost their coach at that time and still worked out. And to quote, what's the name of the analyst we had for a couple stages? Faramir from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, Faramir from the north. Yeah. What's his name? What is it? What did you say?
I just made a joke about him, don't worry.
Okay. Fabian would say, oh, you know, put me in there. I would be selecting the best map for us. Well, last week was a different story, but it actually ended up working. I guess they're going kind of the American way of doing things, which is if we don't know what we're doing, they don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, I think, you know, maybe we come down hard on G2. Maybe we don't. I don't really know, to be honest. You know, Fabian stood next to me for a long time and came down hard on G2, and, you know, now he's the one that's in the hot seat. But what I will say is, like, the expectations of the fans, the public, of the viewers, of literally everybody that supports G2 is that this team shouldn't just be a top 8 team at 2 majors. Even though that's a phenomenal achievement, by the way. There's only 2 teams in the world that have done it, G2 and Exat. Every other team has not reached the quarterfinals of both majors in the world. So, yes, they're on, you know, they are a great team, but the expectations is that they're the top tier, and that's the difference.
Our map ban then for the series, Which map will it be? Let's bring them out there. Bank will be taken out, and we're going to border this time. Thank God, not a third clubhouse. I love clubhouse to death, but man, it sometimes needs to switch out. G2 starting off on the attack as Rogue selected defense start on border. What does that mean, even starting off defense on border?
Well, we've gone from, I mean, you made a good point earlier, Fresh, about the sort of defender-sided maps. We've sort of flipped that on its head a little bit. Border is known to be a bit of an attacker-sided map, so I'm not sure if Rogue are maybe trying to make a little bit of a point there, but to start on the defender side, you could sort of ask a little bit of a question of that. Is that the right move?
Rogue's issues have been on the attack, so it makes sense they'd go onto the defense, but the map's a curious one for me, actually, because G2... it was their permaban. Border was their permaban. But if you think about how G2 and Rogue play, this is a team that... you're not saying they're not a strategical team, but you're saying they're very gunfight heavy. G2 are, Rogue are. They both, in theory, their team should rely on team play, on gunfights, and that's exactly what Border is like. And it should be a good map for both teams. Like I say, it was a permaban for G2, though. So,
do we flip a coin to see who wins this?
I think you probably have a 50-50 chance of getting it right.
So I can't wait to see what the social vote was for this matchup. Gentlemen, thank you very much for setting things up for G2 versus Rogue, and I hope you guys are ready. A brilliant cast, as always. We'll toss it to Ace and Des. Enjoy.
I love how we sat there, Tim, in our last map saying, what maps do we not really like casting? And you said theme park, and I said border, and you were like, yeah, border ain't the one. Where are we going for our match of the day, Tim?
We're going to border, Des.
Yes, we are. And we're going to have a good time doing it as well. I think Fresh's point was really quite interesting. The point around these two teams both being very aggressive. G2, when I think of G2, I think of big hero players coming out of players like Doki and Citizen. I think of Rogue. I think about coordinated flood the site aggression. Kind of like Walls, but with a little bit more tact to it, in my opinion. So this could prove to be a very aggressive, very fast map. And I'm excited to see how it goes down. Who knows? Maybe they'll turn my head and suddenly I'll start loving border.
Maybe, Des.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Let's not get too excited.
I doubt it. Here we go. It's Rogue versus G2. It is the match of the day. It is border. And I'm sure that no matter where this one is played, I'm sure we could play it in the car park, Des, and it'd be an absolute belter. It's going to be a classic. These two teams I feel like, again, they're at a similar level here. G2. Rogue, obviously coming off the back of the Berlin Major, done fantastically well, but struggled a little bit. Not felt quite themselves in EUL so far. And then G2, couple of losses, and then get themselves a win. Maybe a bit of momentum there. We're going to have the Ying band to kick us off. It's going to be Knock to round out those defender bands. The attacker bands.
Honestly, these boys are just going off. Unsurprisingly, the Nook ban coming out from G2 against Cryan. We've seen him play every single opportunity he gets. The stage that is now starting to regularly draw these bans on it. The Ying obviously going to do a great favour for any team to not have that involved. A mute ban also coming out from G2. A pick, I should say, that's been really present in basically every single map on every single side for as long as I can remember. I think his pick rate was the highest for defenders that we have of any operator.
Valkyrie will be the last one. No surprise, we know how powerful Valkyrie is, but also, we have seen people like Citizen use Valkyrie more historically, but occasionally, when she creeps through the bans, we will see attention turn back towards her for some of the big names like that. So, going to be taken out here, Mute. A fascinating one. We don't get too many Mute bans, to be fair. Quite a rare one.
I love these teams coming up against each other. For normally the main reason is that Leon and Citizen have got a bit of a rivalry between the two of them. Always adds a little bit of beef, but over time that's kind of
surprised I've not seen you. I'm surprised I've not seen you on the timeline stirring the pot a bit today, Des,
so the thing is, previously I would have, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to calm it down today. For today, I'll take a day off because it's normally the line that Fresh says to me, take a day off, Des, and I thought, you know what, that is great life advice, so I've taken a day off.
Well, let's hope that neither of these two teams take
Don't talk about it yet, by the way, Tim. Don't talk about it.
I'm not going to.
No, we'll just wait. We'll just keep waiting. See what we're going to talk about again, Tim. What was it? Oh, we weren't to talk about anything, were we? That's it. It's fine. It's okay. We're all good.
Absolutely fine.
Yeah, it's all right. It's cool. It's cool.
Here we go. Right, well, we're going to have Rogue on the defense. It's going to be Armory to kick us off. Armory to begin with. And a lot of the battle, as we know, here on Border is about getting into the building. And that does not surprise me whatsoever to see Spite stood right on the doorway there. But Citizen, he's going to find Deepek.
He was looking to get a little bit cheeky there right early off the gate, but it's Spoit who finds Blur. I was waiting to see how that one played out, but it's Spoit to get it on the break room door, rotating between doors, windows, you name it, but they managed to end up one apiece with the Heart Breacher taken offline.
I was basically going to say it's about the battle for getting inside of the map. If you can stop the attackers getting inside of the map, then generally you will have a little bit of success as defenders, which I know sounds super obvious, but what I mean is that it's a particular flashpoint. Once the attackers get inside of the map, unlike on other maps, they tend to have a lot of success in getting the rounds won. So Rogue, they know that. They're getting right up to those doors, windows, getting aggressive, no surprise whatsoever. They've managed to burn a minute so far. Virtue has got himself inside of the map now, maybe looking for some vertical nades. There's 4 been brought along, so there is some opportunity there. Spoit going to take down Citizen, and he's having a little bit of a field day on the alibi already.
Got to be careful unless he wants to get stat banned again. Finds himself 2 in the early stages of the round as well. Only about 70 seconds in, let's not forget. And Citizen and Blur both taken offline. So now eyes turn towards Doki, Elamau and Virtue to keep this round going. But look again, there's another scrap going on as Doki basically blind checking his way inside the site here. Almost loses his life. It's Kanto going down elsewhere. Spoit dead to Doki through the soft wall, and that's the kind of turnaround they were looking for.
Absolutely disgusting kill from Doki. Leon manages to find an outer shot onto Virtue, leaving us now in a 2v2. Doki on the Twitch, less than half health. So that's something that needs to be considered here. There's an absolute age left on the clock. This has just been a brawl over getting into the map at this point. That's going to be the wrong type of canister there. It's going to be one of the stun grenades that comes out from Alame, which is just going to bounce back off the door rather than taking the barricade out. But access has now been gained through that archives door. Leon just holding a skinny angle here, a couple of pixels wide there, through in towards that fountain door, just daring G2 to push in.
Daring to push in and go for the plant. They've gone straight in onto the default plant spot, but do they know about the long angle? Oh, he pokeballs him at range! That's one way to pull it off. Crying with a second shutdown as well. Rogue! I didn't expect that, but they managed to pull the round out of the bag.
Absolute beauty from Leon. Just obviously landed that perfectly next to Doki. You got to get a pretty close hit to be taking that level of damage from an impact nade. So, you know, a bit of a classic there.
See Spoit then. Flexed and pointed to his bicep. And I'm just like,
did he?
I'm just like, can you really afford to do that when you sat next to Cryin? Look at him. Cryan's built like a tank.
Yeah, I think you've got a point there. I think you've got a point there. I mean, Spoit clearly looks after himself, but you know, you're going up against probably the biggest guy in Siege.
I'll give this to Spoit. Remember at the
Although
major.
Laxing's maybe got a shout as well.
Laxing let himself go a little bit.
We've got to give fair mention to Laxing and Yeti.
No. Laxing let himself go a little bit. He stopped going to the gym for a while, and although I think last week...
I'm not going to have this slander, Des.
It's true.
I'm not going to have this. Laxing, I've got you back. I'm sticking up for you here. Don't you worry.
Because you're lying on his behalf now, and that's even worse.
You're still a hunk of a man. You're still a hunk of a man.
Don't get me wrong, he's beautiful. I almost swore then, but he's beautiful. However, he's just started going back to the gym again. So give him about 3-6 months maybe, you know, calling around SI sort of time. He'll be Imagine him stood behind, like, Elevate at SI or something. It's like the most built coach you've ever seen. Be unreal. Talk about M for motivation. He just intimidated the other team. Forget being a coach.
That's you just seeing him giving the stare. That's it.
Imagine. I already play like crap anyway, but I play more like crap as a result.
I like how you caught yourself there, Des. You nearly walked into an easy one for me. But let's see if G2 are walking into an easy one here. They're going to be attacking onto bathroom and tellers this time around. Rotero drone's going in to clear out utility already. They're going to get absolutely nothing as the shot comes in. I think it was from the castle of Leon there, just taking down the drone before it could do any damage. Now then, Doki's sending in the Twitch drones. The default cam is already gone, as it should be, and the drone is gone along with it. So I'm loving this from Rogue, doing a great job on the defense of just keeping that utility at bay.
That's for sure. And again, it's all about the challenge of keeping them outside the building for as long as you can, or challenging every possible square inch of the map, which they are doing a great job of so far. Just not giving anything for free, force them to have to drone, and then re-drone again before they can even think about getting forward already. 3 drones dead. 4 it would have been if it wasn't Twitch on side, but of course she only has 1 normal drone to think about. So they've killed off a few of them. In fact, to say that, and 2 more just die in quick succession. So Rogue are again ensuring that G2 are being challenged at every possible turn, taking out drones where they can to try and force them into making some silly mistakes. Doki.
Access has been gained. Doki manages to find Kanto. Spite shuts down Citizen. So once again, the same as round one. We have those kills bouncing back and forward. No advantage can really be gained. 4 versus 4. But a little bit of top floor control is slowly being edged away from Rogue here as G2 work their way across. We see Cryin and Deepak both dropping themselves away from the top floor now. So this could be a little bit dangerous for Rogue from here. Once G2 get control over Office particularly, the pressure will mount on site because of course those vertical angles are going to get opened up. They've got a couple of soft breach options. They've got the explosive canisters both on the side of Alamau and Virtue, so there is work can be done as well as the Roteros, and that is exactly the use they are being put to now by Blur.
They are indeed, but I'm a little bit nervous about the clock here ticking down. Sure, it's a 4 versus 4, but they're still getting themselves set up on the vertical. Blur almost finding Leon, who I don't think was fully aware exactly where he's being shot from there for a full couple of seconds, but still alive at least for now. It's Alamau to bring down Spoit 2. G2 in the lead, at least for now.
They could really do with getting this round. They don't want to get themselves too far behind. And, you know, as we sort of touched on briefly on the analyst desk, we're going to be expecting the attackers to have a good section of play here. Doki manages to find Leon, shuts him down. That gives access in through Workshop towards site. Deepak's going to be holding on. We know Deepak has got a huge clutch factor. Out goes the Nitro! Puts the diffuser down cold on the ground. And Cryin, he gets a kill at the same time onto Virtue. 5 seconds left to go. This is possible here. But no, Alamau comes in with a big double. Manages to shut down Rogue, and G2 level things up 1-1.
If he ain't making his bed, at least he's making rounds in the game, Tim. Brings us up to that 1-1, as you say. It came down to that close again, where both teams are kind of getting real at each other in the early round. The scraps around getting into the building, around shutting down roaming defenders. It all kind of falls by the wayside in the last 30 seconds when the execute comes back on the table, and both teams, I think it's saying both rounds, have been very close to holding on tight. You know, think back to that first round, a 2v2, Rogue pulling out a blinder of that 2v2. This round just then, look for a second like G2 might not quite get over the finish line. So if the first 2 rounds are anything to go by, this is going to be a bloodbath from start to finish. Vents and Workshop, where we head for round 3.
So this is going to be much the same attack as the first round that we saw. It's going to be wanting to get control over Armory. This is a site that can be defended with 4 or 5 off-site. It can be defended almost primarily from the top floor. You'll get all the vertical holes opened up, and you can control an awful lot of site from up there. Now, we'll see how many Rogue decide to put over to holding on to that area. They need to, because it's particularly important. Once the attackers get there, you know, particularly with a little bit of soft breach, you got Buck, you got Sledge on side, you got Max soft breach on side. It's not going to be easy because G2 will rip up every inch of that floor.
They will. The Rogue clearly acknowledging that as well. Want to try and keep themselves in contention on the upstairs. Start things out, unsurprisingly, you'll have probably Spoit and Cryin looking to do a lot of the damage. Leon also on the Melusi. Tends to be a pick that you'll see players like Shaiko pick up and use to then get aggressive out and about on the roam. And Kanto, this time taking up the mantle of the Alibi. And I think seeing that between that sort of setup in terms of how much aggressiveness they're looking for on the roam based on the operators, you can sort of say the same on the attack. Like the most supportive operator they've got is Blur on that Flores, but there's no hard breach in sight. The boys are just saying, forget about hard breach. We can just go hell for leather here and make this work.
And it's sort of half worked so far. They've got 1 round. They weren't able to get the first. Leon is going to be half health here. Rotero drone comes in, going to force him away, back deeper into site. All he does is take the rotate. He's going to continue challenging onto main door. Doesn't want to allow anybody in through there. And once again, he's going to be hunting down those Roteros. Finds one, but almost finds an early death as well. It's going to be Doki who manages to finish that off. He knew that it was there for the taking. Gets in, takes down Leon. Doki's inside a site here. It's Blur that's got the diffuser in hand, but there's a possibility for him to move into ventilation. But watch how Rogue hold this from above.
This is the danger, right? Sure, they've got site control, but there are 3 holding out above here, and that's going to be a big frustration for them. Blur getting in to get rid of some more utility, but there's another kill coming in as well, this time from Spoit. The boys looking largely untroubled upstairs as once again, we've had that early bloodbath that's come down to a 3 versus 3.
G2 sort of peeking the door here as if they don't know that Rogue are going to be holding this upstairs. It's so obvious. The holes are there. There's nobody can, on the contest, just, you know, from a lateral angle, you know that they're going to be above you. You know that's where they're going to want to keep things locked down. Blur instead, he's going to transfer his way across to the window, but guess what? Rogue have got an angle onto that. They've got an angle onto absolutely every entrance into sight. G2 have to do something about the top floor here, Des. They can't ignore it like this.
Well, it's like you said, it's sort of frustrating because Doki's managed to get himself in sight to a spot where they can't cover him on the vertical. And he's like, look, if you can get across to me here, we're in a fantastic spot. But Blur has got to really chance everything to make this work. And maybe that's what he's looking for here with a flashbang in hand, is to try and flash the man upstairs and run for the cross and get over towards Doki. But it's so risky. If he goes down, they're screwed.
Doki just creeping around at the minute,
dear.
and you feel like there's a potential for him to find a kill. Nade goes out, unsuccessful. Doki takes damage, but Blur gets into the spot that they needed. It's not covered, but he gets spooked as and he comes off the plant. He's going to go back to it, but that's given them the time. Deepek able to get that one, and Doki manages to find Spike 2v2. 16 seconds left to go. Diffuser is down though. G2 haven't been able to recover it until now. It's going to be all up to Doki. He's going to try and stick this, Des.
Can he clutch it out as well? Deepek's on the drop here as well, looking to come in for the kill. If Doki comes off now, he's pretty much screwed. Comes off after the plant, and they get the final shutdown. I think, if nothing else, Tim, that round is a perfect showcase for the power of vertical play.
Absolutely. As I said, coming into the round, you can't ignore the top floor. I thoroughly expected G2 to come in with a strong push onto top floor, clear out Armory. They brought Buck and they brought along Sledge. Like, you know, why are you bringing those operators if you're not going to go and try and take down top floor? I think they lost one early in, and maybe that was part of the decision of, you know, we can't open up the verticals too much. But guess what? The defenders have already done a lot of that work for you because they're intending to play the rest of the round up there, and Rogue just showed us the strength of exactly why they wanted to do that. With only 3 men left alive, they were still able to hold on to site without anybody inside of it.
I think part of it is they probably read that there were 3 or 4 players playing upstairs. There's utility and use up there. We spoke about this in our last map back in game 2. Sometimes you just see the opportunity and you go, right, boys, forget the original plan. Like, forget trying to deal with the roamers up on the top floor of Clubhouse. Let's just go and hit Church and Arsenal direct. And I think that was probably part of the call. Doki was like, look, boys, I found a spot here. I've killed a guy inside a workshop. I'm charging my way through. Site is clear. Forget top floor. We can go for a plant. But as you saw, they just didn't really respect exactly how much power Rogue had upstairs, and they get the round closed down. But it's a really entertaining back and forth game so far.
There's a bit more riding on this game than initially made. I mean, there's a lot riding on this game anyway, but I'm just looking at the talent predictions. There's all of us went for Na'Vi and Outsiders, so all of us are currently on 100%, but this is where it starts getting a little bit mixed up. So you've got Milosh and Hap have both gone for G2, otherwise the rest of us go for Rogue. Yeah. Then we've got slight separation after that, but pretty much Heroic and Wolves across the board. So this is the real determining factor for who comes out on top tonight, and it's going to be close all the way. You can just feel it right now. Rogue 2-1, they're in the lead. They're going to be back to Armory this time around for their 4th defense, but there's no givens in this matchup.
In the whole league, it feels like there's no real safe givens. I think I was saying on Twitter earlier, like, you know, there's probably 4 of the 5 games today that could go either way. So far, been on the money. But even, for example, the last game of Wolves versus M&M, I'm looking at that even thinking, I can see a world where Wolves don't show up to the races and M&M win it, which is why I thought, you know what, that's my chance prediction. Let's say that M&M take it all there.
Absolutely, you know, it's definitely one of those days. I'm sort of sat here now feeling like I could be on 100% here. I've gone for Rogue, for Heroic, and for Wolves, and I feel like, yeah, you know, I'm pretty much on the odds there. But like you said,
nothing's guaranteed.
Absolutely not. Now then, Spike, he's going to be holding that angle from the hatch top down for the time being. Doki has done some good work in the beginning of the rounds here to get opening kills and to get his team into it. But like you say, that timing just eluding him at the minute.
I don't think Spoit knew that he was crawling up there. Look at this from Cry. I love this. Kind of like an alternative to what we're used to seeing. I don't think
Mark 2.
Yeah, honestly, I think there's just no idea here of what's going on. Doki doesn't know about that drone behind him. This is a freebie waiting to happen. He's even sat under a man. He must be like, okay, these guys are droning for me. Where's your drone going? He's sat in the midst of 3 of them, Tim.
I can't believe the Crying's getting away with that at the minute. But it's giving Rogue all the info they need. Look at the tight angle that's being held. Spite decides to take a run for it, but Doki's there. Manages to get him shot in the head as he goes in. He gets himself a second onto Deepek. That is great entry play from Doki. 5 versus 3.
There goes to show, even with all the info, you can still lose your gunfights. Now Crying stepped up, playing on the back of the shield, but Alamal's got the second. It looks to be a shutout for G2. Kanto finding one back. He's getting busy on the cap can. Let's see what else he can achieve as it comes down to him and Crying to hold off against 4. They find 1.
Ryan, he's going to try to push his way back in through Fountain here. Rotations are allowing him to do so. Blur, he goes into a frost trap, leaving us now effectively 2v2, Des. If G2 do not win this round, they've thrown it away. Doki gave them such a strong foundation, but Rogue have been able to fight their way back in. Crying's surely going to get his man. He manages to get a spray down. Virtue low health now, 2v2 as Blur gets finished off. 10 seconds left to go. G2, they got to make a move. They got to make something happen. It's Citizen. We know he's capable, but Crying with a big double nitro is gonna close out the round. 3-1 Rogue.
That is unreal that Rogue have won that. Unreal. 2 big clutch rounds on that exact same site from the same position as well. Think back earlier on, it was 2 of them playing around half wall, around metal, that came pushing across towards the east and got the kills they needed. This time, it's a little bit different. It's Crying out on the map being mobile, but another big clutch pulled off by Rogue that has got them back on the board again. They're up 3-1, and understandably, G2, you can't be losing 5v2s, boys.
No, absolutely not. And this is kind of the game that I expected here and why I predicted Rogue to get the win. I felt like these two teams, whilst I said coming in, you know, they're not a million miles away. You've got G2, who've got themselves a good win. Rogue maybe have had I won't say a dip in form, but, you know, there's been, you know, maybe not quite up to the same standard they set in Berlin for themselves, but they've been going very well. And I just thought, who's going to win the ends of rounds? Because this is where it's going to be won or lost. And right now, exactly as I expected, it's Rogue that are doing that. They've got those clutch players in there. They've got players who are going to win out those 2v3s, those tough situations. And it is the difference maker at the minute. A couple of times we've seen it come down to level numbers at the end of a round, and Rogue have been able to snatch the round.
Whew, well, G2 have had their time, as of Rogue. Of course, both teams get the opportunity to talk during the tactical timeout. Rogue probably feeling that it's been a little bit too close for comfort and should have some of their own ideas to bring into this next round. G2, on the other hand, I imagine there's a talk here about closing out rounds, because there have been a couple, like I said, that they could have won, but just couldn't quite get it over the finish line. It could have been them up 3-1 very easily, it feels like, and they know that's the case too. Especially on the attacking side of border, for Rogue to be on 3 defenses is already a wonderful start.
It is. We're back to Bathroom and Tellers this time. It's the site that G2 were able to win. They really need to do that again, is the top and bottom of it. They need to be finishing at least a 4-2 half. The thing is, if this can be a 4-2 half for G2, that's actually not bad at all. As Fresh said, Rogue have struggled more on the attack. Struggle maybe not the right word, but they've seen more success on the defense than on the attack generally. So they start out on the defense here, but the second half could be tougher for them. So if G2 can keep it to 4-2, it is, you know, easily you can see a world where it goes to overtime, or where G2 even maybe manage to snatch a win away. So this round particularly important. They've won it once, they need to do the same again.
Bulletproof camera being taken out there for free inside of sites itself. Really sticking along to bringing this the Flores to get rid of crucial bits of utility. I believe that was a shock drone being lost as well, which Doki will now take out. So traded back on the other side, not wanting to give Rogue any more free information like they had in previous rounds.
Twitch drone going in. Doki not made too much use of this gadget from what we've seen so far, but that could be an important one. Takes out the Ella device just on the inside of the door. G2 making much better use of the utility this time. Last time around, we saw Leon inside a workshop, able to take down Rotero drones, Twitch drones, and make life a little bit of a nightmare for the attackers, but this time hasn't been able to find the same success. And we've seen those drones particularly going in and doing a job. Doki, he's there ready. He's looking to make a challenge there, but nope, Leon is long gone and gets the reinforcement up behind him.
C4 from Spoit being committed there as well to open up the floor to give him the angles downstairs. Doki almost expecting a rotation to come through, but Spoit for now is at least, well, I've got no reason to move. I'm in a pretty good spot. I can see everything through the hatch that I'm playing around. We've, of course, got the floor being opened up as well. But I imagine G2 feel like they need the players out of here. And for right now, removing the barbed wire appears to be the play.
Alamar getting onto the sandwich window. They're going to drop away from it quite quickly. I think there was just a shout of somebody playing inside of Armory, and it's going to be Blur. What a beautiful find through the soft wall onto Spike, taking him down with a headshot, and that's a big opener for G2. It might just give them the sort of spark that they needed. It could be the catalyst for them taking the top floor.
It's a starting point. But as we've seen, even in 5 versus 2, G2 couldn't close it out last time round, so now is the point to prove that you've made use of that tactical timeout well. Some chip damage coming in on towards Leon, as members of Rogue, by the looks of it, starting to think about this drop away, as the heat is really picking in upstairs, but it's crying to find Virtue.
Alamau looking for the long angle onto East Stairs. Doesn't manage to find his man. And once again, Des, Rogue have been able to reel G2 back in. It's now 4 versus 3, 4 versus 2. As Z-Pack manages to find Blur, shuts him down, crying onto Citizen. And Rogue are starting to run away with this one. Almost certainly going to be 4-1 here. As Alamau, he's got 30 seconds to make something happen, but he's got an absolute miracle to find.
He has 4 players by himself with 20 seconds on the clock. I don't think Rogue are that silly to also send every player peeking for him just to get the final closeout and pad those stats a little bit. Cryan sat at 8-2 so far, so having an absolute field day. And Alamau tries he might, cannot find Leon. Moving up 4-1 on the defense, Rogue.
It's a great start from them. You know, as I've said, let's apply some caution. We expected a good first half from them on the defense. But that said, a 5-1 half, I'm not sure G2 come back from it. You know, I said we'd seen G2 get the win last week. You know, it was a good win as well against Wolves, 7-5. They come out and you think, yeah, you know, G2 showing us what they can do. Maybe we're going to start seeing that little bit of increase of consistency. They've got Blur in now, Fabian as coach, but it just feels a little bit like today, that inconsistency is still there and it's still continuing. It's not necessarily a criticism. I feel like they do need a little bit more time to settle, but how many stages can they burn?
It's always been my frustration with G2, and the thing that I've said about them ever since day one is they are a team that have great capability at clutch. The number of games, and in fact, against Rogue back in stage 1 is the perfect example. G2 won that game despite being the first team on defense to pull away. They were one of the slower teams on the attacking side. They were nowhere near as aggressive as Rogue. But you'd have Doki and Citizen just pulling off 3Ks, 4Ks, I think in 4 separate rounds throughout that game. That playstyle is what you rely on or call a hero play. You know, a single player is being the hero. They're winning the round for you. That's all well and good, but one of my worries about G2 that I vocalized back at the major as well was when the hero plays don't appear, do you have solid fundamentals to fall back on? Is the strategical play still there? I kind of feel in this game you're seeing that come to light. We've had some good rounds from players like Doki. Alamau's had a good time as well. But without those hero plays, they are crumbling on the strategical level, and Rogue just look more ready for them.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. You know, exactly like you say, the couple of big 3Ks, yeah, it helps them out, but ultimately, Rogue just sat waiting for them.
Yeah.
They just sat waiting for them to play into the plan, and that's the big difference maker at the minute. Alamau, he's going to be on the Lion this time. It is going to be the final attacking round for G2. I don't feel like Rogue have been necessarily a huge problem on the roam. Border isn't a huge roaming map. They've been difficult to close down on the top floor, but you kind of know where they're going to be. They're going to be inside of Armory trying to hold you down here. So, but the Lion coming along does suggest from G2 more of a commitment to taking that top floor, recognising what went wrong last time around.
You do get a lot of extended holds on this map, right? Like areas that defenders want to lock down rather than so much being active on the roam. The only place you can really think of being super active for the roaming is normally out towards, say, East Stairs. Players will stand around there and then move themselves back until you get to situations like this where the attackers want to get control of Office and start coming forward in numbers. Doki down to about 40 HP as Alamau does find Cryan, shuts him down. Our biggest fragger in the game so far is off the table, and that can only mean good things for G2.
It can, and they need to find the round here, but that is a very unfortunately timed disconnect for Doki there. He's going to leave us in a 4 versus 4, and that could just be the breath that Rogue need to find for themselves to get themselves back into this one. They're just going to hold their positions now whilst G2 readjust. It's going to take them a little bit of time. You know, what was Doki pushing? Who is going to move into that spot? How quickly can they allow for that? Deepek's got a dangerous angle from the top of East here. He may well find himself one, and this could be round defining for G2.
It could. At least this time they're trying to challenge on to the lateral upstairs, but Kanto is still lurking around behind them. Blur's found one, Citizen a second. Those are the kind of kills that you need, and Citizen's inside of sight. Rogue have got absolutely no idea. Kanto, the last one left standing, finds one man and gets him down as well, but there's still 3 more to go through in 45 seconds.
and he's low health. Citizen cuts him down, and that is going to be the round for G2. And it was a much better round from G2, I'd like to say. Even with the loss of Doki there in the middle of things, they adapted well. They pushed into Rogue. They just had more of a plan. It just felt like they were more on top of it. Let's compare it to the last time that they attacked onto Ventilation Workshop. They didn't take top floor. They were cut down from above. They played into Rogue strategy, whereas this time they picked it apart, and it was just much, much better.
Well, as you can see, unless Doki has suddenly become the world's best musical statues player, there is a quick disconnect here for us to sort out before we can get back into things. It does give us that 4-2 half, and like you said for G2, it's not the end of the world. My only challenge now is you've got to see them be really, really aggressive on the defense. It's one thing that has sort of plagued them against Rogue throughout the year. The two bank games they played against each other across Stage 1 and Stage 2. Like I said earlier, Rogue were always the more aggressive side, the ones more willing to make G2 have to fight for every single square inch, and I get the feeling it's going to be the same here as well. You've seen Rogue looking to challenge everything at windows and doorways in round 1, looking to contest office constantly, and sure, sometimes G2 have got the better of them. That's the way the game goes. So for G2, don't give Rogue too much freedom, otherwise they will execute as a team, and they will do it incredibly well, as we've seen them do so many times before.
I've got a feeling that G2 are going to come back into this. I think we've already commented, Rogue, not the best stats on attack. Not to say that they've necessarily been poor on attack. It does come down largely to the maps that they play and, whether they defend or attack sided, etc. But I think, definitely for me, Rogue have certainly had less success on the attack. I would agree. And statistically, I think that's backed up. So I've just got a feeling that G2 are going to have a strong defensive half as well. I'm feeling like I might call overtime at this point, Des. I know I want it.
Feels bold.
I know I want it. It's wishful thinking, but
I do need it. Everyone wants the overtime. It feeds our soul. That's what we don't understand. Overtime is what keeps you and I alive. For every game that goes to overtime, Tim and I get to live 6 months longer. That's why Tim's still like 70-something years old and still casting.
We're going to live forever, Des. We've found the elixir of life.
That's what we don't understand. Cast Siege overtime, you live forever. Done. Who knew?
Who knew?
I mean, really, overtime games actually tend to take years off your life, I imagine. Heaven knows my heart was ready to give out when we were casting the Rogue game in the major final.
I'll tell you what, I'd cast it all over again, though.
You know what someone pointed out? They did say the two best games that we've had over the last couple of years have had FaZe in both of them. Damonkia versus FaZe in Sweden.
That's it. We need to cast more FaZe.
We do. So every time we get to a major in future, just be like, yo, FaZe, let us cast that game, please.
FaZe against another regional team.
Yeah, we need FaZe versus
we need
NA
FaZe
team.
against NA. That's what we need. We need FaZe against NA.
And if it's really disappointing, we can blame NA.
Everybody tries to blame NA so at some point.
For something or other. As you guys can see, in case you are just tuning back in, we are just waiting for a quick rehost to go through from Doki. Again, it's still proving to be a masterful musical statues player, though I just had a little ding in my ear, which maybe suggests he may have rejoined us. So we'll get things back underway in just a moment. Just bear with us.
Yeah, as soon as we can do, we'll get back into this. I'm not sure, this is maybe not ideally timed for Rogue either. It gives G2 an opportunity to get themselves set up, get ready, coming into this second half now, moving on to the defence. They can have those chats. It's, just giving them the time. It's maybe breaking a little bit of momentum. It felt like Rogue were winning a lot of gunfights. They were playing on a lot of confidence, and maybe this just takes the edge off a bit.
Very maybe. Oh, there you go. He's back. He's moving. He got told he won musical statues. I haven't decided what his prize is yet, but he's won something. And hopefully he can come on to win the game because at 4-2, as we said, it is a bit of a hill to climb still for G2. Nothing is guaranteed for Rogue, but it's certainly leaning that way. By the way,
I'm not sure how good Doki would be at musical statues.
I mean, I imagine pretty good because if you're small, there's less kind of body to freeze. Whereas if you're quite tall, like I
guess. I mean, I'm thinking he's always very active in the server. He's always, he's always running around. He's always moving around. I feel like he might be that kid that moves for 5 seconds afterwards and then like kicks up a fuss when they get called as the loser that round.
Do you reckon Doki's a sore loser?
I don't think so. I think he's very competitive, but I think he can take it on the chin.
I think I agree.
I think he can definitely. Yeah, I think he can definitely take it on the chin. But yeah, I think he'd be that kid that's like moving for about 5 seconds after the music goes off, and then he's like, "Oh, what?"
But I'm not sure how I feel about him when he was typing on his keyboard then, because he has his keyboard angled at like what 60 degrees or something ludicrous, and it was some weird like side on but not quite side on typing. It was very strange. He had a power cut.
I believe there was a little bit of a power cut issue, but regardless, we're back now. We are back into things. It is 4-2 to Rogue. It was a little bit of a break over the half, and we're going to come back with G2 now on the defense to move us on. It's going to be Armory and Archives to get this half underway. Round number 7. We'll be into the action phase very, very soon. Having a quick look through, we've got the Echo, we've got the Azami. Quite a disruptive lineup from these defenders.
Absolutely, and interesting on the other side. I don't know if this is going to stick. I can pretty much guarantee Spoit will change away. Currently seeing the Thinker being hovered over alongside the Decabi from Leon. Now, the Decabi is a really interesting conversation in itself. Across most regions, we've seen her pick rate and win rate go up. She now has the mini EMP gadgets, but one thing I think that hasn't been really spoken about enough, she's not even bringing them this round, instead got the smokes, is the Mark 14. We're in a patch where we've seen a lot of players. I mean, think back to Nathan, the Na'Vi game earlier, for example. The freebie that he potentially had with Nook on the FMG, but whiffed it because of the recoil. Mark 14s don't really have recoil. They bounce back down and reset very quickly. They've barely been affected by the changes that came in recently. So Mark 14s now, more than ever, are probably more deadly than they've ever been before.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of strength from them. Obviously, the use of the Mark 14, I'm going to say, not completely down to him, but Onigiri giving us all the reasons that we needed to be bringing the Mark 14 along. Now then, 5 versus 5, we are still almost a minute into the round here. G2 not bunkering down on site too much. There's a couple of players in there, but we've got Blur out on his stairs. We've got one trying to hold on to CCTV. Now then, what's going on there? It looks like Cryan's just looking for a little crouch walk up metal stairs. He could get himself a freebie if he holds on here, Des.
He could be, but it's all about waiting for Chaos to emerge elsewhere before he makes his play. Still sitting tight, at least for now. Sure enough, Spoit has actually stuck on the Thinker, by the way. Obviously has the spear over the LMG. Right, cool. Has the Gon 6, but no frag grenades in back pocket. But there we go. Cryan strikes like a... What I'm looking for here, like a Viper, that's the one I was going for, Tim, like a Viper. Gets the kill at the top of the stairs, but it's Leon to come out and potentially find 2 more. Finds himself 1 as Blur hits the deck inside the waiting room.
Almost certainly going to be finished off, not likely to be collected. He's out
it's
in
the waiting
the cold.
room and he's waiting to die.
It's a different kind of waiting room for him right now. That was unfortunate. Deepak just missing the shot from the Twitch drone, and it was the last one. They're going to need the recharge on it, but Cryan will go in and get the kill. 4v2 as Rogue, they come in strong on the attack.
They do. Very solid start so far, but there are still 2 left alive, and you know what that means? You can't write them off. Think about Rogue in that 2v5 back in the first half. Very plausible that Citizen and Virtue, the old school duo before Doki joined this roster, might be able to pull off some magic. And scarily enough, they're in a very similar spot to what Rogue were. Almost finishing off Leon, but he finds a triple in the round. Down goes his nemesis in Citizen, and Virtue is left standing against the full weight of Rogue. 4 players bearing down on him, getting zapped out by shock drones, you name it. It's not looking pretty.
The last man standing, you can see him just battling every angle. The Twitch drone knows exactly where he is. And right now, Rogue, they just need to get in and get that diffuser down. That's exactly the focus for Leon as he starts putting the case down. Couple of seconds left to go. It will be confirmed. The kill will almost certainly come in very quickly afterwards. It's Spoit who finds it. But if it wasn't him, there were a number of Rogue players just pressing down upon that position to take the Echo down. I tell you what, your screams don't echo in space, Des, and G2 right now, they are in trouble, screaming at the top of their lungs, but not going to be heard. It's 2-5 on the board, and Rogue are starting to run away with things.
It's the little bits of composure from Rogue that I really enjoy watching about them. Like the end of that round there, great example. 4v2, they're taking it step by step. Even in a 4 versus 1, they're not screaming, kill him, like Citizen did back on Oregon. I'm looking at the way they're playing it. It's just very sensible. The plant is going down first. That's the #1 focus. Then you're allowed to try and swing onto the final player left standing. So good composure, good team play coming out. And frankly, crushing G2 right now, who have got a 2-round margin to work with. They've got to win 5 to get it back to even wards potentially being a win, 4 to make it overtime for Rogue. 1 round more at least guarantees they walk away with a single point.
Let's see if they can find it then, shall we? It's going to be Ventilation and Workshop for G2. They've decided to move on. They're going to try and hold on. I would like to see how much top floor presence they're going to have. Rogue gave them a little bit of a masterclass the first time they defended this site. Let's see if G2 take a leaf out of their book. Rogue, by contrast, they're going to need to show us a better top floor clearance than G2 were realistically able to achieve. They need to be going in there and finding those kills once again. To be honest, you'd put money on them at the minute because they're going fantastically well, and it's across the board. You got 9 on Crying, you got 7 on Leon, you got 5 on Spoit. Everybody chipping in.
Absolutely, and even like with Kanto and Deepet being a little bit quieter, still playing their roles dutifully. Let's see how things shape up though once again. We're going to see the Thinker returning for Spoit. Enjoying it for the global heal, I'd imagine, more than anything else. You, of course, have that Gon 6 on side, but I can't imagine many reasons why you wouldn't try and bring along some more nades or potentially some more, dare I say, I don't even want to say diverse utility, because the flashes are still okay. If you need like ADS burn or Wamai burn, it's great for that. So you still do need them on side, and Spoit is kind of that guy, but interestingly means he's playing a much more supportive role than normal.
First set for Rogue is the need to deal with Doki. Unfortunately, Kanto, in trying to do so, is going to lose his life. Spoit goes in hot on his heels. He's looking to find his man, but the danger has passed and Doki has managed to get himself away. Virtue, he's going to have to hit the deck. He's being challenged by a Crying, but it's Spoit ultimately on the second angle. But then Spoit, he takes a lot of damage here.
Juice.
Both him and Crying on low health, going to juice them back up, but it doesn't give quite enough to get them back up to full HP. And G2 are still holding on to Armory. We've got 2 players in there. It's Blur and it's Doki, who are going to just probably play the majority of their lives in here. Blur may choose to drop away down the hatch, but here comes the flank.
Crying's in a good spot, watching the flank there, has got it written down perfectly. One more down low, taking a few more shots here, down about 40 HP, as another Juice comes in and finds the man as well. That's the kind of play you're looking for, disrupting the potential flank coming out of G2. Rogue, once again in a 4 versus 2, feels like they might be able to take this one as well, Tim.
It certainly does. I've got to say, Rogue just feel clinical today.
That's it.
You know, I said that they've not necessarily shown consistency as well as they have done previously so far in Stage 3, but they are just back with a bang tonight. They're absolutely all over G2. Every flank is watched, every gunfight is won, shooting players in the back. They're just superior in position, in strategy, in gunfights. They are superior in every category right now. G2 unable to get anything going. I feel for them a little bit. I like what they were doing. They were rolling the dice. They were trying to get up East stairs. They were trying to mix it up a bit and not allow Rogue to be comfortable, but Rogue just had it locked down. They already had the answer. They knew what was coming, and it is just chef's kiss for Rogue so far.
I'm quite glad to see Rogue playing like this today as well, because in the first 3 play days, they didn't look like the Rogue that we saw in Stage 2 or the Rogue that we saw at the Major, to be honest. In fact, they looked a little bit lethargic, a little bit like they were out of tune with each other. And they did say, look, it's a slow start back, give us a couple of play days, you'll see us back to form. Their third wasn't all that good, I didn't feel either. But today, you are seeing back the kind of Rogue that we saw at the Major. The one that, like you say, is the one that's playing as a unit, but it's all about the movement as a team and then taking those individual gunfights. And you saw that throughout that last round. A couple of trays that came in. The pinch from Spoit when Crying was taking the gunfight onto the Alibi. Just these little moments of team play of squadding up with each other, but still being very fluid and flexible and quite fast, to be honest. That's what makes Rogue such a scary team, and now we're finally seeing them back in form.
What could be our final round then if G2 can't get something going? They've gone for another site once again, Des. They just can't find any defensive comfort here on Border. They've gone this time to Bathroom and Tellers. Doki going to be looking to try and hold on to CCTV with the Azami. But again, just looking across the board, Alamau, Doki, they've been the ones to find the kills, but just not enough contribution from elsewhere in the team, I don't think. And when you've got a team like Rogue who are functioning as a solid unit, 11, 7 and 8 between Leon, Spoit and Crying, 26 kills between the 3 of them, it's always going to be very difficult to keep up with that as an individual or a duo.
Someone messaged me saying, you've already done an NA team against FaZe. FaZe versus TSM outside 2022 semi-final. So go figure. We'll talk about that in a minute, though, because Rogue are looking to close things out right here and right now. They've already found Blur. They're clearing out more. Doki's power. These things up north are not looking too good, but it's not looking too good in the server either. Virtue at least restoring some kind of balance, but not quite the power, as 4 versus 3 for Rogue ensues.
Citizen going to just be working that heartbeat scanner underneath. He's giving the yellow pings, you can see, and I don't know. Obviously, you know, the roles within the team, putting Citizen on Pulse, I just think is the, you know, potentially a better use for him. You want him in the gunfights rather than feeding the information into the team. It's just nothing's really clicked for G2 so far tonight. Citizen's doing exactly that. He's trying to get himself involved in one of those long-range fights there, but it's always going to be difficult with the UMP as well. Not the best gun in the game, as we know. Deepek manages to close down and shut out Alamo, leaving us now in a 4v2.
I just love the use of the Kali here as well. Like, why? But it's working. He's found himself a kill. Kanto's into the next, and Citizen left standing all alone on the Pulse could only do so much. Looks to be like for G2 that this musical statues game has come to an end. He gets shut down, and Rogue take a very decisive 7-2 win.
G2, I feel, after the performance against Wolves, have maybe been a little bit unfortunate there, but that is, and I will clarify this, not to take anything away from Rogue. They've just met Rogue at the wrong time, because boy, did Rogue switch on tonight. That was a top-tier performance from Rogue. You know, really clinical, taking every opportunity in front of them. They have definitely come out and won this game. You know, fantastic performance from Rogue. They, you know, quite happily take a bow in match of the day for Playday 4.
Crying at 12-4 as well, just unleashed. But Tim, I do want to jump back to that point I made a second ago before we cut out to a break. We did do FaZe versus N18. We did TSM versus them at SI 22 because, and the guy remembered it, bless his soul, he was like, oh, it's when Tim did the Hammer intro. You remember?
Ah, yes.
You were like,
yes. I mean, you've got to let us off sometimes. We've cast an awful lot of games. It is difficult to remember every team we've cast.
I think it's because TSM stomped them and we said TSM made FaZe look like the weakest we've ever seen them. That's why we don't remember. Yeah, but it was still a good game. Okay, we'll take that. It was still a good game. Much like this one just was.
Absolutely.
Closing thoughts, Tim.
In some ways, it was a good game. It was good to see Rogue get back to full strength. You know, these are a team that we're going to be looking, you know, if they can get themselves through to the November major, they're one of the big hopes of EU. You know, they won Berlin. We want to see them go on and do more. We want to see them dominate again. So, yeah, tough couple of weeks to begin with, but definitely back with a bang.
Hey, look, if it took 3 weeks for them to start ramping back up and now we get to see the real Rogue back in again and the lead up towards that major, great. They're now in second place, for example. They're starting to get ready to fight for that spot. And who knows what the November major might look like. We'll go to a quick break. When we come back at the desk, I'll break it down for you.